once again to Crazy Comics and Stories. It's me, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. And at the other end of the series of tubes and wires we call the Internet is a man who works for an agency that hates comics, Joe Crazy Writer. How you doing today, Joe?
I finally know the answer to the question. Bees are on the what now?
They're on the big pile of sugar.
Nope. They are on the rocks in front of my house.
Oh.
Allow me to explain, as I'm wont to do. We decided, actually Chris decided, to take my brother-in-law's dog for the week because they didn't want to buy a kennel and they didn't know what to do with it. And I was against it because we don't have a yard for it. But he's a short, he's a small, short hair.
Against it.
Well, it's very true. But he was a very personable dog. You know, today he just sat right behind me, tolerating all my noxious admissions while I did my eBay stuff and just kind of rolled along. So I know our pet bunny, you know, King Bun Bun, the bunniest bun of them all, oh, he wanted nothing to do with him. He was panicking. He was beating on his cage. And so we decided, you know what, Bun Bun is just going to hang in my room. And then today was the last day that the dog Rex was here. So Holly had Rex on one side of the house. We shut the door, and I let Bunny run up and down, and he was going nuts because it's like, it's my house now. And finally, he took his traditional spot under our bed. Just loves hiding under that bed. And then I let Rex come in. You know, shut the bedroom door so Rex can't get in there. And Rex basically knows there's something in the house that he's not quite sure what it is, but he snuffled everywhere the rabbit went and kind of looked at the door and then said, whatever, came and sat with me. So when Holly and Chris came home, we took Rex outside. You know, God forbid I walk the dog. I have eBay to do. But we kind of walked around, and you know, Rex is a pretty well-behaved dog. We took him off the leash. He started running around, you know, and he ran by the pine tree and baptized it. And all of a sudden I look over, and there's a swarm of bees flying very angrily in counterclockwise and clockwise circles where Rex had just, you know, deposited his love drippings. And I'm like, oh, boy, we better get inside, everybody. And we all got inside. I shoot a few of them out, and then I kind of watched, and I'm like, okay, those don't look like wasps. They don't look like bumblebees. So did a little research, and my brother-in-law who works for Echo Labs come over, and he looked at them and goes, those are honeybees. Honeybees are beneficial, so you don't necessarily kill them. They're not necessarily in the best of spots. So tomorrow I'm going to call around to a couple of beekeepers and I'll see if they can come get them. Problem is usually when they're underground, they're probably so deep that they'll follow the queen, but it's hard to get the queen out when it's underground. So I just posted a sign, said, hey, bees, don't disturb them. They're nice.
Bees give us honey and pollinate things, and
pollinate.
Wasps are just assholes.
Yeah, wasps are assholes. If they were there, I'd have been dropping gasoline down that hole.
That freezes their exoskeleton, you know. You don't even need to light them on fire.
I blame the bees.
Of course we're going to blame the bees. Now, we should go back to what I said at the beginning of this call, Joe.
About how great cinnamon frosted flakes taste?
No. About how you work for an agency that hates comics.
Sure we do.
Yep. People coming back from the Sandy Eggo Comic Convention. United told them, hey, TSA says you can't have any comics in your carry-on bag. So dump your comics here. And I know why. All the checkers at the San Diego airport weren't able to make it to the convention, so they wanted to score some free comics.
No, we're not allowed to take things.
Yeah,
we are, however, allowed to page through them to make sure they do not contain any prohibited items.
See? Do you even hear about this story?
Yep.
And as an insider,
the best part about it is that nobody knows who from United came up with this Felder card.
I was going to say, as an insider, I want the scoop. No more fake news. No more of the lamestream media. No, I want to know. Joe, you're my source. Not an anonymous source either, so this is real news, ladies and gentlemen. And I am a journalist, award-winning journalist.
It's true. I saw him buy that leftover trophy when we went after that. We did that last podcast with Julie and Dan. We went over to Goodwill, and he ended up buying like a couple trophies to put on his mantle.
Damn right. One was a Pulitzer, and one was a Nobel Prize.
No, one was a cardboard cutout, and one was something from Dreamhouse Barbie. But hey,
thank you.
Okay, do you have a question?
Yes. What's the scoop? What's the skinny? What happened?
Cory, it's sensitive security information, SSI. I cannot divulge it.
I do not believe you.
Sorry, that's it. You'll have to file a Freedom of Information Act.
Okay, here we go. There.
Oh, sorry, you did not fill it in triplicate.
Fine. There.
You forgot to X the box over there on the 35th page on the upper left-hand lower corner.
You know, I could do this all night.
Oh, sure.
There.
All right, everything looks in order. Sorry, we're closed. You have to come back tomorrow at 8.
Good night, everybody.
Those guys get to work 9 to 5. I got to work odd hours.
I was going to say,
tell you what. Okay, give me a number.
7:30. You're working till 10, Bucko.
Give me a number 1 to 10.
2.7.
Sorry, you got to have a 3 or higher security clearance to hear the information. Good night, everybody.
Well, then I'll just say that Joe himself is the one who ordered that the comics be taken out of people's bags and set aside so that when he goes to San Diego, he can just sit downstairs, say he's going through the luggage, and instead, nope, he's reading all those San Diego comics.
That's not the worst thing I've heard.
So if you had your comics confiscated at San Diego...
Oh, no. We don't confiscate things. You voluntarily surrender them.
And please to explain how it's voluntary.
Well, it's easy, because if you are told you have a choice, you can either bring it to your car and leave it, you can mail it to yourself, or if you do surrender it, we will dispose of it for you.
I heard that lighters cost like a few $1 million to get rid of.
Yeah, big time.
Well, Joe,
as a matter of fact, that law is still on the books. It's just Congress passed thing the way Congress is wont to do. They didn't rescind the law because they were the ones who passed it, coming up with some lamestream reason to, we can't let lighters on a plane like we've been doing since there were planes. And they just figured, we're not going to give you the money it takes to dispose of the 15 million lighters that people had to give up. So it's still illegal. They just won't give us money to enforce the law.
So now you just let them pile up, right?
No, we just let you have them.
Oh. It'd be a hell of a lot more fun if you just let them pile up right there by the metal detector.
Do that with the water bottles, you idiot spring.
Well, that's one of the stories that came out of San Diego. Joe, were there any stories that jumped out at you coming out of San Diego?
I did catch a couple of the trailers. Tons of trailers. But the two I liked were the Thor Ragnarok, a little bit more on that. And then, of course, a JLA trailer came out that was amazing. It looks, I think they finally get it. We'll see what happens when we get to it, of course. No Marvel Infinity War trailer. I guess they just saved that for Disney Fest. Because people were like, they got to show it here. And they're like, well, Marvel's not really one to let the cat out of the bag too soon. And I'm really surprised no bootleg showed up. But then again, you want to mess with the mouse on its own territory. Oof. I did see, who was it? Somebody was talking about how comics were being destroyed. I think it was a DC panel or something. Of course, I can never find it when I need it.
That the comic market.
Yeah.
Being destroyed. That's the story that made me kind of lose my cool.
Uh-oh.
I lost it.
You did? Did you find it again?
No.
I mean, and folks, it was like freaking 90 degrees with 70% humidity. We had tornadoes, we had hail. So when Cory loses,
all because of me.
It's crazy.
If you read most of the comic news, and I say the word news very loosely, sites, it was DC admits that they destroyed the comic market. And it's about how DC said that, we know the lenticular covers and this and that and the other have caused problems and et cetera, and blah, blah, blah. And that was the end of the story.
Yeah, then DC went on telling about how after killing it, we're trying to bring it back.
That wasn't included in 90% of the stories.
Nope.
What it was, DC at the retailer end of the show. Because there's the public stuff, but there's also where they do presentations for retailers. And, Joe, when you were in San Diego, you went to those. Those are different. They're more business-focused. It's not, hey, look at all this cool stuff. You're going to want to buy all this shit. It's more, hey, here's what we're going to do to help you make a lot of money. So you want to buy all this cool shit. DC's presentation was, yep, we understand that business is down. We understand that sales are slumping. We understand, that the multiple covers and the reboots and et cetera, is a huge problem, and we get it. We understand it. And here's what we're going to do about it, is the part that didn't get covered. They talked about how they're going to that their rebirth is kind of focusing on story once again rather than gimmicks. They pushed the Doomsday Clock miniseries that Jeff Johns is going to be doing, which is supposedly the thing that kind of wraps up the rebirth thing. Hard to believe rebirth's been going on for over a year.
I can tell you, judging by the back issue prices, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Versus New 52, where people were going crazy for them.
But here's the thing that jumped out at me, was that they said, we know the big thing that the comic market needs is more evergreens. And we've talked in the past, an evergreen is a book that sells over and over and over and over and over time. It's a book that continues to make money. In the book publishing industry, it's things like To Kill a Mockingbird is an evergreen. Kill a Mockingbird's going to sell forever. Or Hemingway's stuff. Or John Grisham, believe it or not. Or Stephen King. The books they write, you go into a bookstore, the stuff they wrote 10 years ago is still going to be on the shelf. The stuff they wrote 20 years ago is still going to be on the shelf. The stuff they wrote 30 years ago is still going to be on the shelf because it continuously sells. It may not sell, may not be a bestseller, but it continues to sell over time. And in the comics industry, you've got Dark Knight Returns, you've got Watchmen, you've got Marvels, you've got other books that sell continuously over time. And DC has said that they're going to try to focus on bringing more books like that to market.
And I will tell you this, DC slit their own throat with Crisis after Flashpoint, because as I'm going through my stuff, trying to figure out what to sell, what not to sell, nobody cares about all that pre-52 stuff or pre-Crisis stuff. Yeah, guys like me might. I mean, I'll buy the reprint on the of the Perez Wonder Woman because I remember reading it originally. But just all that vast material that just nobody cares about because it doesn't tie into current stories. It doesn't have any bearing on the current market. It's just like evaporated stuff. And there's reams of it in the DC library. In the Marvel library, yeah, there's bits and pieces of it, but you could all argue, yeah, it's one universe, one continuity, despite their best chance to try to destroy it. John Byrne, I'm looking at you. But it's just amazing, some of the books I've got and some of the comics I have that just, these aren't perennials. Nobody cares. The Titans, pre-Crisis, the Titans between Crisis and New 52, they're totally irrelevant because they just won't, unless they, I don't know, reverse everything and say, yeah, it all exists. Nobody cares.
And in some ways, I don't know if you can create that out of the blue.
No, you never know when it's coming.
Because Dark Knight, let's remember, Batman was not selling well, and Frank Miller's book before Dark Knight was Ronin, which you still had stacks and stacks of in shops. That's why the first issue was worth so much, because shops, it's a $2.95 book, and comics are $1. I don't know if I want to, stick my neck out on this thing. But the two they announced that excited me and have a chance. The first one is Arkham Asylum 2 by Grant Morrison. I only read about that in a couple places, so I'm kind of surprised it didn't get more play. But Arkham Asylum, the first book, was DC's best-selling hardcover ever. Ever. And, if they're going to do sequels to Watchmen and sequels to Dark Knight and sequels to everything else, of course they're going to do a sequel to this. And because it's Grant Morrison, it won't be nostalgia-focused. He's not a guy who does nostalgia the way other people do. And the other one is Superman Year One. Did you hear the creative team on that one, Joe?
No.
Frank Miller and John Romita Jr.
It'll be late.
Well, of course it'll be late, but it's the first time
not from Mr. Jr. I mean, he could bang that book out overnight.
But it's the first time they've worked together. Well, they kind of worked together on Dark Knight 3, but when I think John Romita Jr. and Frank Miller, I think that Daredevil miniseries that they did back at Marvel, which is out of print for some stupid reason. Hey, Marvel, keep all of Frank Miller's stuff in print. You'll make money, okay? I promise. Promise.
Well, no, gotta wait till Ike's out the door before that happens.
But they said, they were going to work on more evergreens. And I think a lot of what you do to get an evergreen is to get the best creatives, the best creative people out there and tell them and tell me your ideas. How do you want to use our characters? We really need to unleash some people on Wonder Woman because the Wonder Woman movie is still in theaters and still making money. And it's on its way to be, to make more money than Batman versus Superman and Man of Steel. So from what I've read, they're rushing Wonder Woman 2. They're moving it up in production, which is smart, get it while the iron's good. But a lot of my problem with DC is the same problem I have with Marvel and other companies, and we've talked about it in the past. How many DC books are coming out this month, Joe?
I don't know. I'm not ordering any.
90 comics coming out from DC. They're starting 2 new lines of books, the metal books and the new adult superhero books. Add that to Young Animal, add that to Vertigo. If I've got to buy, with the metal books, the reason I didn't pick those up, oh my God, look at all the books I have to pick up to get a complete story. Maybe I'll buy it as a trade if I hear it's good. It's the thing that all these companies do that just make me want to beat my head against the wall. It's, here, we've got this new line of books, and they're all interconnected, and there are 9 of them the first month.
If I actually cared, I would dig up some of these old, events and see how many of these books still are around. And I guarantee that the number would be 0.
Oh, yeah.
Because, they might flare up, they might catch. If you really want to make the books sell, you got to grow them organically. Do if you're going to take a character out of the blue, make it a miniseries. Tell people it's a miniseries. This might be old Joel, comic boy talking, but when I knew something was a miniseries, I'd be more prone to drop money on it because I knew it had a beginning, middle, end. Versus, oh, well, Red Wolf's coming. Okay, that's kind of cool. Is it ongoing or? And if you get a pleasant surprise like Ms. Marvel, continue it. They did that with Transformers. It's supposed to be a 4-issue licensed comic. They actually had planned to tie it in the Marvel Universe, much like they did Shogun Warriors, Micronauts, ROM, and then later decided not to. Yeah, that's another good one. But they, at issue 4, it sold so well that they just decided, okay, it's going to continue from there. And then, of course, when you get to the end of the series, you get number 75 in a 75-issue limited series, a joke, which is pretty good. Oh, this just came in from Mozik Chong. Time to ask the Strode.
Oh, wow, out of the blue. Holy shit.
Did you hear the bell in the background?
Yeah.
That's how fast it is. Okay, Cory, are you ready?
Yeah.
Why did CBS change the name of the Hulk from Bruce to David?
Easy. They thought Bruce was a name that was gay.
Okay. Anyway, now back to our regularly scheduled podcast.
We have a regularly scheduled podcast?
I don't know. I stick around every Thursday. I watch Big Bangs on Redhead, and I'm looking at the All Things Redhead Facebook page while you talk. So, yeah, I guess it's regular.
Although I watched... when I got home while I was eating my sandwich, I'm still watching Scrubbed, and watched the episode with the hot nanny.
Oh, my.
Yeah. She was a redhead in that one, but most of the time she's a blonde. Because like, oh, wow, she's really hot. I must look her up right now.
I've done that a few times. You hear you hear about somebody, I got to look that up. Who is that?
But other than that, all the news out of San Diego that I heard was movie and TV related.
Yeah, pretty much.
Marvel just basically said, "Yep, here's what's coming with Legacy," and there wasn't a whole lot that was new because they announced most of it at D23, the big Disney fan thing. And I think Marvel's probably got the right idea. Nobody goes to Comic-Con for the big comic news the way they used to. It used to be that DC and Marvel would hold all of their big news and announce it at their San Diego panels. That's where they announced the Grant Morrison X-Men. That's where they announced, the Dark Knight 2. It's where they announce this stuff. And now it's like, well, it'll just get lost. And I will say, for the people who say, well, there's no comics there anymore. There are. You just have to search. Mark Evanier told a story about how he spent all day doing comic panels, and somebody came up to him and said, you didn't do a Golden Age panel. You have to do a Golden Age panel. And he said, well, who would you have me bring in? Because most of the people we would do a Golden Age panel with are passed away. He looked over the list, and, Stan's here, but Stan's promoting his new stuff. Stan doesn't talk about, his work in the past at conventions. He's paid to promote the new stuff. And everybody the guy named, Evanier, would go, he passed away, he passed away, he passed away. To the point where he's now, Silver Age panels are getting, smaller and smaller and smaller. And he says the 70s panels, they're starting to deal with the fact that some of the creators who broke in the 70s are passing away. So the comic stuff is still going on. You have to search for it a little more. And the people who are doing the news coverage, CBR, I bet if you go to their website now, I would say 75% of their stories are about a TV show or a movie. You go to Newsarama, 75% of their stories are about a TV show or a movie. It's a bigger market. There are more people who watch a movie than go buy a comic book.
Sad but true.
But
and you're tapped into that. you're tapped into the sale figures. You tell me. I mean, do you see bumped in figures when a big movie hits,
No.
or are we just continuing on they're selling to people who are selling, and they might be picked up elsewhere by accident?
The trade paperbacks get a bump for the first movie or two.
I think a lot of the problem, too, is like what I keep talking about when I find comics that I'm rereading and talk about here. A lot of times you just pick up a random book, and you're like, okay, Xavier's alive. He was dead in the last issue I read. He's hanging out with what were Skrulls. If you're only an X-Men guy, what the hell's a Skrull? Cyclops is dead. Wait a minute, there were two Cyclops. You know, they almost should put at the beginning of a graphic novel, you know, here's what's going on currently, you know, because otherwise a lot of times, I mean, you try to read like some of the event books that are come around, it's really confusing. It's like they just publish this stuff and publish it for the time it's in, and it's gone. They're not thinking perennial. If it happens, it's an accident, like Marvel's or Kingdom Come. But you know, so many of these things, if they were to try to reprint them today, we'd all be scratching our heads. Or in the case of Cory, you know, Cory, why is the Hulk gray and working in Vegas? I don't get it.
The Jeff Purvis run.
Which is one I never read, so I
Oh, you'll love it.
And we'll talk about that when we get into our Deo Geek Fest. Since Cory and I couldn't go to San Diego, we did the next best thing. We put our money where our mouth is.
I got a bonus check the night before.
And I had my PayPal money from all the fun eBay stuff I've sold. So we hit as many comic shops as we could. Good Lord, we started, about 10 o'clock?
Yeah.
And we went till 7, I think. That's when we stopped. And I have me here the list of comics. And we were going to try to make a podcast out of it, but we decided not to, because then we'd have something to talk about here. See the things we give up for you people? So, the first place we stopped at is a place in South St. Paul called Level Up Games. 207 13th Avenue South in South St. Paul. I discovered this place about a month ago, and I figured I got to bring Cory down here just to get his opinion. Basically, we went into the store, we walked around, we checked it out, and then afterwards we just talked about what we thought of it. I'm assuming the owners were there, very friendly guys. It's largely set up in two pieces, and somebody told me who goes there on a regular basis that the shop part is, you know, what would you say, about 90% games?
Yeah.
And then they have
let's delineate that, though, because it also used video games,
toys,
models,
figures.
A lot of the models and figures and paints and stuff for gaming. I would say the comic section's about 20% of the store.
And I showed Cory a couple of the weird things, like their graphic novels were two-tiered. So to see, you know, if you look across, you'll see the graphic novels, but they also have titles behind the first-tier titles. So it's almost like they need more room for the graphic novels. Same thing with their discount comics. They're all low. They're all bulked up. They're in no real order. They did do something that if I was in business, I would still do, or I would steal, I should say, where they actually bundled graphic novels together, you know, which might be a good idea for, you know, I think of Titans back when I had Crazy Comics. I was reading Titans in graphic novel, and then, of course, some event came and they canceled the book and started a new one, and it's like suddenly these books were useless. They had no real value to them because nobody's going to buy a series that was canceled because they'll be busy buying the new one.
Depending
so
on
they
the
would
creators,
take a run,
though. Because I bet you could sell the Jeff Johns stuff. But the Dan Jurgens stuff, nah. The Judd Winnick stuff, nah. Yeah.
Well, that's because when Jeff Johns, especially in Green Lantern, they didn't really shake up the continuity to the point of where the stories were so totally different.
Yeah.
You know, old Justice League, you know, you talked about buying the, or did you buy the Detroit era Justice League?
No.
Yeah,
I tried the first couple issues and went, yeah, I think I'm done here.
You know, no, who cares? You know, nobody cares. And the only people who would be someone who remembered it and thought fondly of it, and they would pick it up that way. So it's an interesting idea. Guys were personable. The layout was nice. Any other impressions you had, Cory?
The way they stocked their graphic novels kept me from looking through them because they stocked them too deep. Not two as in too many, but two as in the number 2. There was a row of graphic novels, and then you would have to pull them out to see the graphic novels behind. I'm not going to dig that deep into, you know, especially if it's all, you know, cover price. Especially, you know, okay, you know, got to pull these out. Now I got to hold them and flip through, and you know, it's a terrible way to stock. I would bet that nothing that's behind that row sells.
No, and I don't even know how I discovered it. I think because I was looking for, you know, I go into a shop, I'm ready to drop a couple $100 if I see something I want, and I was thinking, you know, Absolutes, if they have one, I'd buy it at full price just to help these guys out. They didn't have what I was looking for, and so you know, but I did see some of the bigger books, so I dug. It's interesting about this place. They're open 10 to 10 every day. And if we were to go down there now, they would probably have a very vivid gaming session going on. When we were there, the other half of the store, which was its own storefront till they took it over, that's where the gaming is. They have food, they have the bathroom there, they have a couple other things. Even as we were there, I think it was a dad and his kids came in to just sit down and play some games, you know. I thought that was kind of cool. I didn't buy. I wasn't going to buy anything because I'd already been there previous. But I did find as I was digging through, they had a whole area of discounted pop figures, and I buy these mostly because for the charity store that we do at SpringCon. Yes, MSP Comic Con, but it's always going to be SpringCon to us. And if I can buy them for $3 and sell them for $5 for charity, that works for me. So I went through a lot. I picked up a bunch and brought them forward, and that was my first purchase of the day. Did you get anything from Level Up Games?
I did not. They really didn't have. They had a nice selection of new books. Their back issues were, they were okay, but like I said, digging through the graphic novels, I bought something that wasn't a comic though, because they had used video games, and they had some stuff for the Xbox One, one of which was Atari Flashback Volume 1 for $8, and it's 50 games from the old Atari 2600. Now, I've got that for my PlayStation, but that's PlayStation 1. It's pretty rare I'm going to dig out my PlayStation 1 to, do some retro gaming. And for $8, same thing on my Xbox One, sure, I'm down with that. They had two, but they had it at $25, and I looked online, and like half.com, I could get it for $6, and can get it used on Amazon for less. So I only picked up Volume 1.
Do you think as a comic store it would behoove you to pay attention to what's going on online?
Oh, God, yes.
Sell it what it is.
Because
I see that a lot. And I talked with one of the guys I saw at a Comic-Con I'd been at, where it's like he had a book for like $3, and the guy across from him had it for $30. And I'm like, I bet you if you go online you could find it for $5. A lot of the stuff I'm doing dollar books on people are selling it for $1 plus shipping, $3-4. So if I had a store, I'd price it probably about $5. But yeah, I mean, you really got to pay attention to that, especially with the higher items. I mean, yeah, someone wants to argue, well, there's a X-Men 94 for $2. Yeah, well, go buy it, because if you don't, I will. But for just common back issues and stuff, you really got to pay attention. LevelUpGamesMN.com is their website if you want to check it out. They got pictures, and tell them we were talking about them, so they know we like them. The next place we visited, the next place we went was a newer shop that I discovered on Facebook, and I thought I'd better check it out because it actually sounded kind of interesting. It was a bit of a jaunt from South St. Paul over to Apple Valley, going into the old comic archives territory. Issues Needed Comics, 15465 Cedar Avenue South in Apple Valley. And their website is www.issuesneededcomics.com, although I'm not impressed with their website. The store was a little bit more interesting. It looked like these guys, how long did they say they were there?
I did not ask.
Okay. I know with Level Up, they've been there about 5 years. They're actually opening a second store over in the Eagan area, which will be interesting when we talk in a bit. So we'll have another store to check out. These guys, though, they need to fill in their stock a little heavier. Laid out really well, clean, bright. Everything's face front, very easy to find stuff. Kind of an interesting mix of back issues, not really a lot, but you can tell anything that isn't on the shelf, they just put there. Another store I went around, really wanted to buy something, but I just didn't really see stuff. Although I did pick up some interesting things, and we'll talk about that. Cory, what was your impression when we got to Issues Needed Comics?
Issues Needed was really, it was a big store, but they haven't filled it in yet. It felt very much like a starter store. Like they had just opened it within the last few months, maybe. Their back issue section looked like the stuff that they collected that they didn't want anymore.
Which could be, because when I picked up some stuff, I was going to pick up a couple graphic novels, The Swamp Thing, Alan Moore, just for the heck of it. But as we dug through the back issues, I found Hitman Lobo, That Stupid Bastich, which apparently I don't have. And since Garth Ennis wrote it, and I dig Hitman, and I dig Lobo, that was good. I picked up Incredible Hulk Annual number 7, that was John Byrne, featuring Angel and Iceman, and all-out war on the edge of space.
And it's
one of those,
kind of wrapping up the Champions stuff.
Which I don't think was actually in the Champions book, which annoyed me greatly. They did have the Spider-Man, the Peter Parker stuff. The one book that was interesting, and I started talking to the guy about, I picked up Jim Lee's Wildcats Gold, the one that Jim Lee signed. And the deal with this was, and this was, I think, right before Pat and I bought Hot Comics, if you bought 100 copies of Wildcats, number 1, you got a gold copy of Wildcats, number 1. Basically, the covers, in embossed gold.
Oh, good.
If you bought 300, Jim Lee signed one. And there aren't a lot of them around. And this guy had his for $25. So I put the graphic novels back, and I picked it up. And I talked to him. I said, how did you get this? I told him, I used to run Hot Comics. This is how you got them. He said, I just picked it up years ago. Which kind of confirmed what you were saying, Cory, about, they just a lot of back issues, and they're just putting them out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a sidebar, Cory, you remember I picked up something, and I showed it to you, and it was a Jessica Jones number 1 that had a Netflix, which is a really thin promo comic. And if you probably have seen this as an insert in your regular comics, but this was actually a standalone one. And I looked at it and I said, I used to buy these things like Oprah and a baked ham. Yes, I know it's canned, but I like baked hams. But I put it back. And then I texted Cory the following day because I went and they were asking $10 for it, and people were asking like $80 online. And I thought, oh. So I ran back, and I ran into a friend of mine from work. And I said, hey, did you get any of those Sandy Eggo comics? I said, hey, how you doing? And it was just funny because we were just waiting for them to open. What had happened is they had to step out. And that's a bane of a retailer. If you're the only person there, you got to put the dreaded back in 5 minutes sign and hope you are indeed back in 5 minutes. I did stop at the GameStop next door, and they had games. You'll be shocked. But they had a bunch of toys and discount things, and I looked through it, didn't find anything. But I was talking with him, and he buys his comics there. And apparently they do have a pretty decent size subscription service. That's kind of what's keeping them going, which is heartening because I'd hate to see a shop like this disappear, as a lot of shops are wont to do. And, because that really was the lifeblood of Hot Comics and Crazy Comics as well, the subscription service. So hopefully they'll be around for a while. Did you, any other impressions, or did you buy anything when we were there?
I did buy some stuff. I bought Super Pro #1.
Sorry, what?
NFL Super Pro #1. I didn't
Why?
buy it when it came out from Marvel, but I bought
Dear
it.
God, why?
Now. It was in their 50-cent bin.
50 bin. Yeah, we actually dug through some dollar books, and mine are since buried because they're in my to be read pile. But one of them I picked up was that Heartland, a one shot from Vertigo that Garth Ennis did. I totally escaped my radar. I never read it. I was ashamed.
The other thing that I picked up was they had a whole bunch of Red Circle and Archie adventure books. And what Red Circle was, at the early days of the direct market, Archie decided to revive their superhero books because everything was selling, direct market. I think I read recently where the first issue of Captain Victory and the Galactic Ranger sold like 200,000 copies through the direct market.
Oh, yeah. We were all hyped up on that stuff.
That's insane numbers. So by 83, 84, Archie decided to get in. They hired Rich Buckler. They had some of the people who used to work at Warren when Warren went away. So they had Bill Dubay and Rich Margolopoulos. But they also had Steve Ditko working on the book. And then it didn't last all that long. And then in the late 80s, they decided to do the Archie Adventure. So bring back those characters again, except, as Archie Adventure, sell them newsstand. That didn't work out either, but, he had a whole bunch of those, and they were, 50 cents each, or I forget how many for $5 or whatever. But I got a nice big stack of those. I've never read them. I take that back. I read Comet 1 and 2 because it got a really good review in Amazing Heroes of all things. And that was by Bill Dubay and Carmine Infantino. Supposed to be a 6-issue limited series. It only went 2 issues. But I picked up a bunch of those, and I'll be digging through them. The funny thing is, after the Archie Adventure line tanked, they licensed those books, those characters to DC, which became the Impact line. And, Joe, do you remember the Impact line from DC?
I do.
They didn't do all that great at the time, but if you go through them, there are a lot of people who, Mark Waid, Paul Fricke, Mike Paraback, tons of great creators working on those books who, they were aimed at younger teenage boys. So they weren't as grim and gritty as the regular DC books. They were aimed at a younger audience. And they lasted about 2 years. But
did they interact with DC or not?
No, they didn't interact with DC. And they didn't really interact with each other until they did a mini-series that put together the Crusaders team. And that was kind of how it wrapped up.
In the 80s, they brought the Red Circle line with original stories, because it was kind of interesting. That's how I first got acquainted with a lot of these characters. The Fly, the Web. Was it who had the wife that was with them? Is that a female Fly?
Yeah, the Fly had a wife.
And
Fly
they had
Girl.
Fly Girl, that's what it was. And they had and of course, all I remember is at the end where he's moping because she's mad at me, she doesn't want to do him, and she's thinking, I love him, I have to convince him not to do this superhero life. And they had the Shield, and the Shield's big thing was it never resolved. He threw a villain through a window and killed him. And the cops are, oh, we got a problem here. This perp is dead. And you're like, oh boy, this was some really cool stuff. But it evaporated. It just didn't last. Never last.
And that's what I picked up there. They're dollar books. If you want to get a run of the X-Men after Grant Morrison left, but before they started, basically during the No More Mutants era, boy, they had all those in their dollar bin, which kind of was weird to me because, in my mind, X-Men's always, 50 cents above cover price when it's off sale. But if they've got their X-Men in the dollar bins and still nobody's buying them, that tells you a lot right there.
Oh, it does. Very true. Then we took a stop at one of our old buddies, Cory's personal trainer from the old Schindler's day, good old Steve Brown at Cedar Cliff Collectibles.
Steve Brown, man of renown.
Yep.
Who taught me how Schindlers worked. We've talked about Cedar Cliff before. 1960 Cliff Lake Road in Eagan. Website is cedarcliffcollectibles.com. He does eBay. He does everything. This is the first time though you've been to the smaller store. Yeah.
And we've go look at the old podcast for. I love Steve's old store because it was piled with stuff. It was fun to look through. It reminded me a lot of Hot Comics. A more cluttered Hot Comics, if you can believe that, because you just never knew what you're going to see. And for some reason, and I've never quite figured out what or why, he's gone to a smaller store, still has quite a lot of stuff, has a good eBay presence, brings oodles of things to the fall MCVA shows and anywhere he's at. What I think is interesting with him, though, and we talked about it on the car, boy, you want to read some just acid reviews. Check out the Yelp and the Google reviews of Steve and his store, because he is basically how did you say it? An old school.
He's an old school comic shop, and steeped in the way of Schindler's. Very much, Schindler's was about get as much product as you can in as many places as you can. Schindler's was quantity, not quality, and it was also. Schindler's was kind of renowned for having employees who were not friendly. It was like when you go to the Bad Waitress, a restaurant here in Minneapolis, where their shtick is that the waitresses are rude. And Schindler's was like that. You had the people with the piercings and the face tattoos who were running the register, and if you asked for something, they'd roll their eyes and go, "It's right there." It was like a whole store full of Randall from Clerks.
Oh, and it might be different for me and Cory because A, we're expecting it, and B, we know him, he knows us, and so we're pretty much straightforward with each other, So we get some real interesting conversations.
He has no filter whatsoever.
No. And I appreciate it.
He was discussing his, you were at Target in the restroom.
Oh, I had to make an EBM, emergency bowel evacuation. It was terrible. And Steve's like, you could have gone here. And I'm like, no, I don't do that to people I like.
He regaled us with stories of the first time he read she-male porn.
Maybe I was better off
with another customer in the store.
Yeah.
And the time before, he told stories about looking at pregnant women porn. Right out at the front register.
Right out.
There you go. So I can see why if you bring your kids in, you're going to leave horrified.
Yeah, pretty much.
But Steve's a bottom feeder.
Oh, big time.
He digs through the diamond the diamond liquidation bin and grabs all he can, so that's why you go there for those trade paperbacks. Like I got the Warlock trade paperback for $7.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember how much it was. I got the Muppets Omnibus, one of the few omnibuses that Marvel was dumping that I couldn't find anywhere.
And we were talking about the Gray Hulk. I picked up the Peter David Marvel Visionaries, Volume 1 and 2. And also I picked up the graphic novel The 12, because that was the aborted, no, they did finish it. There's Straczynski and Weston, where they took 12 Golden Age Marvel characters, brought them forward in time, and haven't done jack and or shit with them since. But it's a good graphic novel, and by having the hardcover, originally priced $39.99, he had it for $10. And I'm like, that's good enough for me, and then I'll take the graph. I'll either blow out the set on eBay or put it in the dollar bins for my con fund. So, yeah, Steve's always a fun store to go to because you're never quite sure what he will come up with. And like I say, he likes Cory because Cory gave him the tip about the Marvel blowing out the omnibus, which he soaked up on. And years ago at one of the cons, Steve bought almost all of my comics from me, including my beloved Cerebus 1, which he flipped. I was hoping he might still have it that I could get back. But it's out there. So if one of you have a Cerebus #1 that's autographed by Dave Sim that says, "To Joe, proud owner of a authentic Cerebus 1, please contact me. I'd love to maybe get it back, please."
See, you're the opposite of Butch. Butch probably still has that Black Venom #1.
Oh, I know he does. It's beat to hell, but he has it.
And it's, well, if I sell it, I won't have it anymore.
Yep, that's a good way to think about it. We took a detour to an antique store. Can you believe that? And we went down to a place called Antique Minnesota,
Joe,
which is in Burnsville.
Joe.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think our relationship is at the point where we should be going to antique stores together.
Well, we didn't. We got there and they were like, this guy had. We're speculating as who it is because this guy had a wonderful run of 70s and 80s Marvels, some variant covers, and we flipped through it. But I took my time. Cory, he vapidly ran through them and then disappeared into the vast accumulation of stuff that is Antiques Minnesota. In Burnsville, Minnesota, that is. Huge place. They used to have two stores, one in Lake Street, one in St. Paul on University, but they've since consolidated into one. As a typical antique store, lots of booths, lots of individual sellers, oodles of stuff. And what's interesting is there's a lot of vintage toys, which I looked at, and they're actually in good shape, as opposed to some guy who picked up a Tonka truck out of a crap bin and said, okay, that's worth $100.
Either that or, these are the kids are done playing with these things.
Yeah, put some money out. They're not
now
worn out.
Sell them for, it says online this is worth $100.
$100. So we went through the comics. I ran through the Hot Wheels, and there was somebody else that had a booth there that had, of all things, the Malibu Ultraverse line. And the last time I was there, I didn't buy anything because I wasn't sure if I had it, and I figured this time around I knew what I needed. And unfortunately, he's gone, or she, whoever it was, as they want to do. But we did spend some time looking at the comics. And,
he had a lot of really nice Dell and Gold Key stuff.
Oh, if I was still collecting those photo covers, and of course they had the 70s Marvel monster comics with just that vivid coloring. Oh, just beautiful. And some of the DC ones that they had, they're kind of doing the dreamy airbrush type. Oh. Nope, but I'm past that stage. We did, however, we each bought something.
I bought the Homermobile.
He did. I showed it to you and you bought it. So yes. I you know me, I like to corrupt people.
I was very tempted to get the Marvel Hot Wheels as well. But then I thought, where would I put it? I have enough crap. Once I buy it, it'll just be put somewhere and I'll forget about it. But the Homermobile went to work.
Yeah, mine's open somewhere. I picked up they call them treasure hunts, and they're basically like chase figures for Hot Wheel cars. They change them around every year. Not everyone's worth money. It's like the muscle cars seem to go up in value. This current run, they have what they call real wheels, where they make them out of rubber as opposed to the plastic that you're probably familiar with. But they're not marked treasure hunt, so you got to look at the frickin' wheels. And of course, there are guys who do this. They get to Target or Toys R Us or wherever, Walmart mostly, and they dig through the cases and they find these treasure hunts. A couple of years ago, it used to be on the back. You'd see a little TH. The one I got was a fire truck. I may have, I may not, but they were priced pretty good. So we made our purchase and departed. On to the next store, which was
Dreamhaven.
Yes.
And Dreamhaven, I still remember I went to their big closing celebration, and then about 2-3 months later, I guess I'm going to stay open because I'm selling stuff online, so I'll open up whenever I'm at the shop. And
yep.
Here's how long ago it was, Joe. He would post when he would be there on his live journal. But then he was able to get a couple people to work at the shop fairly cheap. When I go to Dreamhaven, they've got all the great indie books that you'll want to get. You know, the indie trade paperbacks and hardcovers and stuff. But, you know, they have to sell them at full retail. When I'm going to shops, I'm bargain hunting. So I dug through the used paperbacks.
Well, what was interesting, though, is I was on one side of the store, you were on the other end. Forgive me, whoever the guy was that was running the place was friendly and helpful and just a fantastic guy. And I can't remember his name. But I heard as I'm going through one end of the bargain books, and Cory's way on the other, you know, we got this room in back. It's not air conditioned. Now, at the time, the weather forecast, it was 90 with like 90-degree humidity. Now, it was about 100. It was a hot one. I mean, we ran the AC on my truck nonstop. So I can let you in there, but it's not humid. It's not air conditioned. And Cory's like, sure. And I'm like, I'll get a piece of that action. And, yeah, it was like walking into a sauna, but the books. Oh, man, the trades were out. There were boxes. And he's like, go ahead and move boxes. Whatever you can find, go ahead and move it. I don't even know. How many did you end up getting?
About 25, 30.
I limited myself to 10. Cory gave me a couple. I think, what were they, mysteries or something?
Yes, I gave you a couple of the Travis McGee novels, which are written by John D. MacDonald.
Yep.
Some of my favorite books ever written.
The Turquoise Lament and A Purple Place for Dying.
Yes.
Other ones I picked up were one of two themes. If I saw the word time in it and it had to do with time travel, or like this one, Memory Blank by John E. Stiff. It's like Sith with an extra T in it. Yeah. And what the deal is, Carl Donnelly woke up covered with his own blood, but it wasn't his own. He couldn't remember how it got there. In fact, he couldn't remember anything. And so there's a couple books like that where he just doesn't know what happened, and he's, you know, it's a mystery of who he is, and of course, people are after him. So I limited myself till 10. And the funny thing was, okay, so Cory, you went out, and you went to the cashier, and I swear I heard somebody walk into the store and go, I fucking hate comics. And I'm like, wow. And the guy running the store said, well, then you're in a great place, aren't you? And by the time I came up, whoever had said it was either in the store or out of the store, and then I turn around, and there's my daughter, and there's my sister. They had come into the store, and they said, oh, we don't like comics. And that's not what I heard. Cory, did you hear him swear or not?
I don't remember if they swore or not. I just remember I was gathering up my stuff. Somebody said, oh, I hate comics.
Okay. So,
and you said, great store to come into then.
No, that wasn't me. That was the cashier said that.
Oh, okay.
Because I was coming out of the store, the dollar place, or I was digging through their adult books. I don't know what I was doing. So it was kind of funny. They were getting a tattoo from a place almost kitty corner to Dreamhaven, and they're like, let's go to Dreamhaven, which is weird because my sister and I planned to go to Dreamhaven the next day because she only lives like 3-4 blocks away. But it was kind of funny. We talked with them for a while, and I don't have enough good things to say about Dreamhaven. Greg was gone. What did they say? He was he in New York?
Doing conventions.
Yeah, Greg, when I get a chance to talk with him, Chris, I always blame him because he's the guy who, when I got my Chris Crinkle gift, I kept the Spider-Man, brought the 4 Fantastic Four to him, and he gave me 20 cents a piece, which I turned around and bought more Spider-Man. It's his fault. But he is a damn fine, handsome man. I cannot fault him that. But they're saying every time I talk to him, he says, oh, man, people are just dumping stuff. He lowballs them. He gets good deals. Golden Age, Silver Age comics, as well as all the new stuff and the collectible things. I mean, really, if you walk through Dreamhaven and you haven't found anything to buy, you're just not trying. And, of course, he's got a website.
All of the EC sets, by the way.
Which is amazing. I don't know if he does
just
any
like
big
me.
presents. He should. Those would probably blow out on eBay. Dreamhavenbooks.com, so you can actually jump in there. He's been there 40 years, and we'll be back. The next place we stopped was
Chatterbox Pub.
Yes. Oh, wait. Yes, I remember, because Cory was very embarrassing, trying to take serendipitous pictures of the poor waitress.
No,
or was
I
that
didn't.
me? Or was
I said I would do it afterward.
Maybe you should have done that.
I should have, but then it's rude to take pictures of someone if they don't know about it, unless they're your friends. And then I'm constantly trying to get candid shots because on my phone, I could go on Facebook and get pictures of you smiling and waving at the camera. I want a picture of you being you.
And he got one, even though I kept closing my eyes. Chatterboxpub.net. Proud to be voted the best neighborhood bar in Minneapolis and best place for a first date. From City Pages, our local alternative paper.
I would disagree with that.
2229 East 35th Street in Minneapolis. Hip spot for drinks, pizza, burgers, pub grub, and they had a library of retro board games and video games. And they had Boomerang going on the TV, so that was kind of fun. And our waitress broke out singing every so often, which was kind of cool. I don't even remember what I ate. It was good, whatever it was.
I had a pizza that was mediocre.
Oh, you got the deep dish one, I remember.
Yeah, because it was like, it's a deep dish in a cast iron skillet. But it was pretty easy to tell that the crust was out of a box.
Mm.
So, man.
Did I do a ham and cheese? I don't remember. I did. And I've been there a couple of times. I enjoy it. And again, it's within walking distance when we see my sister. It's usually a place we'll stop at or go if we get a chance.
Joe, you know that I'm learning Dutch, right?
You say you are, but I have yet to see any. I think that's fake news.
You had a boterham.
You can't say that to me.
A Varkenvlees und Wies boterham.
Yes, you sound like a native.
Yes, I do. I know 324 words in Dutch.
And most of them are verbs.
No, most of them are like nouns.
Where bathroom now?
Haven't got to that yet. That's why I can't go.
Yes, he's been holding it inside for years. That's why when you walk by Cory, you hear the vague sound of...
Well, I figure I'll just get to 65 and explode.
Kaboom.
And our final stop... Well, no, our next to last stop.
Yeah. I've been to this place, Joe. And I talked about it after one of the Blizzard cons. Nostalgia Zone comic books. I've been there back when they were bundled with Comic College. It was kind of like you walked through a door. One side was new comics. The other side was just a plethora of old comics. Nostalgia Zone moved to 3535 East Lake Street in Minneapolis. nostalgiazone.com is the website. And really, we basically just ran out of money shopping here. It wasn't that we, and time, it wasn't that we actually looked through everything they had, but it was just crazy. I've talked about it before. Cory, what was your impression when you got there?
It is packed. The store is too small, period. The store is too small for what they're trying to do. They've got, Nostalgia Zone does not carry new comics. They're just old comics. And the hallways are too narrow. And they for us, it's cool that, oh, look, they've got boxes and boxes and boxes of discounted graphic novels. They've got, complete runs of the Warren stuff. They've got old TV comics. They're where you go for the old stuff. And Chris Budell, the owner, knows his old stuff. But if you're not a hardcore comic fan, you're going to go in and it's hard to get around and you feel like you're going to knock stuff over, and so they're not going to get casual shoppers.
And if you're not willing to dig, that's the other thing. And we dug. I got my bag here, and I will share with you the treasures that I found. And basically, what was the deal? It was $10 a piece for graphic novels.
$3 for $20.
They had
$10
things
for $50.
They had things ranging from small independents to huge hardcovers, and I think I ended up going for the 10 for $50. And the first thing I grabbed, and I wasn't going to, but I ran across it in a run of the Grant Morrison X-Men, volumes 1 through 7. And Cory helped me double check to make sure it was the complete run.
Yep.
Which is cool because then not only I'm saving it because my daughter's really big on Grant Morrison, and now I have it and I can sell my comic run. And when I want to read it, the only thing better would have been an omnibus, but I didn't get one of those. So that was 7 right there. And then I ended up, I chose Empire Uprising, which was the latest book from Mark Waid and Barry Kitson with his, the Villain One Society. And it takes place a year after the original Empire. I guess it was only 4 issues. I was expecting more. But there hasn't been any anymore. It was published by IDW, so maybe it didn't do that well or something. And then I picked up Infinite Crisis, just because that's the one of the event books. Just because I have it, and then I can sell off the originals, because as you know, I'm big on graphic novel conversions. And then the guy, it wasn't Chris, but his partner there did a dirty thing. He said, I put the books back that weren't part of the 10. And he said, you can have the rest for $5. So I went back and I picked up the ones that I'd let loose. And I got something called Ares and Aphrodite Love Wars by James Rich and Megan Levens. And it looks like, let's see, Will's a successful divorce lawyer, and Gigi's a wedding planner. And they're about to see a whole lot more of each other. And the art looked good, and I'm a sucker for a love story. I picked up Alex Robinson's Tricked. And it follows the lives of 6 people: a recluse rock legend, a heartbroken waitress, a counterfeiter, an obsessive crank, a lost daughter, and a backstabbing lover. And it's from Top Shelf, and I like Alex Robinson's stuff, so I picked it up. I picked up a book which I don't think I had. I'm big on Savage Dragon stuff. This one's called Twisted Savage Dragon Funnies, and it kind of reprints all the different weird things that have appeared, some by Eric Larson, but most by other people, in little snippets either behind in the comic or in other places. A little oversized, a little damaged. And then I didn't realize, I guess I did realize this, but from Phil and Kaja Folio, I picked up a Girl Genius novel. Girl Genius, of course, is their big book that they're working on. I think they kickstart their current graphic novels, and I don't know what I have and what I don't, but I did notice that Dreamhaven has them all, so I can pick them up later. But I didn't realize there was actual prose books, and so I picked up an actual prose book. Yes, I want to do that occasionally. This one is Agatha H. and the Voice of the Castle. And no idea what it's about, but Girl Genius is one of those things. I believe they publish it twice a week online, and then they put it together in a book. So if you go and type in Girl Genius, you will probably find it. What did you end up with 10, Cory, or did you go higher?
I went higher, and then I forgot a couple of. They also had novels that they were blowing out at $1 each. Ooh, dollar novels again.
Woo-hoo.
And I had taken all my stuff up and paid, and then it was like, oh, I forgot these, and I'm taking them up, and Chris says, yeah, you bought enough. You can just have those.
So that was cool. Yeah, no, it's a fun shop. One I definitely recommend, one that I know I will be hitting, because he was real adamant about, hey, I'm getting more in. Don't worry about it. You know, I got more graphic novels in, and of course, as we left, we were speculating as to where is he getting these. There's a lot of time.
Some of them it was easy to tell that they were used.
Yeah, well, he said something about library, and then when they get rid of their old stock, he'll pick it up. So yeah, if you're like Cory and I, you don't mind digging, and you don't mind the older stock. Nostalgia Zones are, I mean, it's a way throwback to old comic shops.
Yeah. So, it felt very 80s.
Yes, and I don't think the store was air conditioned. Actually, I should say it was, because I did feel some. But oh man, that day was brutal for weather.
Yeah.
And the last place we stopped was our good buddies at Source Comics and Games.
Although they don't buy an ad.
No, they don't. But they are good buddies. And I didn't buy anything there, but
you bought a soda.
I did because I was really thirsty, and they happened to have a Diet Dad's root beer there. Actually, it was some type of cherry soda. They were out of the Dad's root beer, and we ran into Kelly, talked to him a little bit about what's coming up with FallCon. No real good gossip news, but I told him if you need someone to break the news, we will tell our vast accumulation of listeners. And
when news falls, we break it.
Damn straight. And we just kind of sweep the pieces over the bee's nest.
No, I clean it up because I am
the cleaner. Does that make me your arch enema? The messier?
The dirtier.
I am the messy man.
Ooh,
I gotta
like
come
messy
up.
Man.
Yeah, I am messy man.
You know who's not messy?
Who's that?
These guys, our sponsors. That's right. Here at the Solitaire Rose Radio Network, we have ads, and our first sponsor is me. That's right, your charming and delightful old Uncle Rat Bastard. I have my first book out with Dangerous Dan Moore. It's the first 100 strips of our online web strip, Worldwide News, the story of the lowest rated cable news network. And you can get yourself a copy with commentary, with all sorts of extras, with signatures and everything. Just email Dan over at lordshadowflame@gmail.com. Our top sponsor, who's been with us since day one, is DreamHost. DreamHost.com. You need yourself a website, and DreamHost.com is the #1 web host in the whole known universe. Just head over to DreamHost.com, put in the code KRAYZ, KRAYZ, get $20 off your first year. How can you beat that? Our other sponsor is Graze, GRAZE.com. Healthy snacks for a healthy lifestyle. Just head over to Graze, put in the code CORYS3R5P. Your first and fifth box are free. You could get them weekly. You could get them bi-weekly. You could get them monthly. You just order a whole bunch of them. It's great stuff to keep you away from the vending machine at work. Now, if you would like to leave a comment for any of the podcasts that we do, we'd love those. Go ahead and email us at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, or you can call 952-856-0519. Operators are standing by. Okay, it's just a place that will record your calls, but we'll play them on the air. We'll answer your questions. We love getting feedback. Tell us what you think. Ask a question. Suggest a topic. Be a guest. Send us your stuff. SolitaireRoseNetwork@gmail.com. If you would like to advertise on any of the Solitaire Rose radio shows, you can. Just email us at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com, subject advertising. Thanks.
Gotta love them sponsors.
Yes, we do. We got all kinds of stuff going on here at the Solitaire Rose Network. You know that, Joe?
No, because I just do this here podcast.
Well, we've got other podcasts we do, including one that neither one of us is on. I know
Cool.
It's craziness.
I know.
And it's Dave and Stephanie Cofell, and they're going to tell you about it right here.
Scrabbling Across the West, a fortnightly retelling of Dave and Stephanie Cofell.
Fortnightly?
That means every 2 weeks.
I know what it means. What if we wanted to do it more or less often than every 2 weeks?
Well, that wouldn't be holding down the fort, would it?
Oh, you're funny. Okay, how about frequently?
All right, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Scrabbling Across the West, a frequent retelling of Dave and Stephanie Cofell's adventures in traveling, making music, and playing Scrabble across the Western Hemisphere. It's all about the people, the places, and the game. Scrabbling Across the West. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You realize had they used the term craziness, I would have had to sue.
No, I use the term.
No, I mean, I would have Sue come over and probably say it's okay.
Oh, okay. We are also doing a special episode on Jack Kirby, Joe.
I know.
It'll be coming out on Jack Kirby's 100th birthday, August 28th. And if you would like to be a part of this episode, we would love you. I'm leaving that in so people know just how tongue-tied I am when it comes to Jack
That's
Kirby.
because we would lava you.
We would love you to be a part of it. So you can record an MP3, and it could be anything. It could be you talking about your favorite Jack Kirby story. It could be talking about why you love his art. It could be talking about what Jack Kirby's art taught you. Hell, you could do a song about Big Barda. Big Barda.
Big Barda. Oh, she's big.
Yeah, she's based on Lainey Kazan.
Hmm.
Anyway, you can email an MP3 to us at solitairerosenetwork@gmail.com. The only thing we ask is please don't go more than 5 minutes. Or, if you don't want to bother to record an MP3, we'll do it for you. Just give us a call on the hotline, 952-856-0519. There'll be other podcasts coming out this week if I don't have to work a bajillion hours, and blah, blah, blah. Solitaire Rose Network, meeting your podcast needs since 2010. Joe?
Yes.
Wake up and tell me what's going on the eBays.
The decision's been made. The eBay store is staying.
Ooh.
Now, the reason why is because you get about 500 free listings with eBay when you have an eBay store. And that, I do over 500 listings a month, which would be about $50, which is about what the price of a monthly eBay store is. So it's kind of like Peter, Paul, whatever. When I did the various, unscientific polling to see how people react when they're on eBay and buy stuff, it pretty much was what I thought. If you go to eBay, you're more than likely going for something specific. You type in the name, you might filter it to, give me the cheapest with shipping. If you find a buyer you like, like we were talking Nostalgia Zone, Cedar Cliff Collectibles, there's a guy in town, Twin City Comics, does a really cool website with just signatures of people that you probably never thought you'd get signatures of. They have stores that you can kind of browse through. If you go to the website, Cory, you want to pimp your website quick?
Solitaire Rose. No, it's crazycomics.solitairerose.com.
Yep. And you go to that, you get the listing of all the stuff. But if you hit that little blue dot, or doorway, I should say, that brings you to the actual store. And there I break things down a little bit more. So if you're looking for action figures, you can take a peek. If you just want to look at some Bronze Age, I actually got a little Golden Age up. Or you want to check out some autograph. It's all put together. And, of course, I always make the deal for you good listeners. If you find something you like and you buy it from me, send me a note via eBay's messaging service. You know, when you buy it, they give you a little box. And that seems to work out best. And then I will definitely give you something out of my vast accumulation of stuff. You know, although it won't be these books. Time for a quick Ask the Strode.
Oh, no.
Are you ready, Cory? Yep. Can you believe it? We had one. We had an instant one from one of our fans, and here's another couple Strodisms. Ooh, I don't like the way that we're having a Strodism. I haven't felt that gross since you showed me your giant-sized man thing with glob on it. Ugh. Cory?
Yes?
I think I might have asked you this. What's the significance of Amazing Spider-Man 654? 2010.
Yeah, you did ask me that one a couple of weeks ago.
Yep.
I am drawing a blank.
It is the first time Flash was Venom.
Oh, no, you did not ask me that. By the way,
okay.
I will let you talk about it because I've got an alarm going off.
Uh-oh. So, well, actually, all I was going to say is that I sold it. And the interesting thing was it was like an $80 book. It's very valuable. Of course, now that Flash isn't Venom, and it might not be that big a deal. But you got to be careful when you're digging through this stuff because most of the books around it were what we were talking about. They're only worth $1. If I had a store, I'd put them out for $5. But when Cory gets back, I will hit him with the second one.
Time to wake up and start getting ready for work.
Ask the Strode number 2.
Oh, no!
What is the significance of Amazing Spider-Man number 4 from Volume 4 from 2014 during the Original Sins crossover mess?
Oh, is it that where we first discover silk?
It is. Very good. So if you ever want to ask the Strode, feel free to just instant message me anytime, and I'll stockpile them up. In the meantime, go to eBay, Crazy, Krayz, and I've just reloaded a bunch of stuff. I'm putting on some more stuff tomorrow. Hell, I may put that Wildcats gold on there once I get I thought I finished rubbing the gold off it. Yeah.
And after Joe tells us what's going on eBay, it's finally my favorite part of the show. No, not where we wrap Joe up in his blankets and beat him with socks that have bar soap in them. It's freaking and geeking. Joe, what are you freaking on?
Kind of excited there. I thought I was back on the bus. I have this day at work when I take all the comics I got from Sandy Eggo and we call it All-Star Day. Basically, I sit and I'm monitoring a computer. The first thing we do is when the CTX, that's computer topography X-ray, detects something that it thinks is an alarm. And these parameters are set by guys with clearance much, much higher than Cory and I will ever have in our life.
Says you.
I look at it and I have this set flow chart that I follow, and a lot of times I can determine, no, it's not a threat. Yes, it is a potential threat. If it is a potential threat, it goes to a room where somebody will look at it and go, Ryder, why'd you send me 25 blocks of cheese? Well, surprisingly, on an X-ray, it looks a lot like explosives.
I like cheese.
Regardless, when it's slow, that's when I get time to read. And as you know, last couple weeks, this is where I'd start talking about all these weird Marvel, DC, independent comics I find. However, when I got to work, I went to the main terminal and was told, oh, you're in the OSARP room today. Did not bring anything to read.
Oh.
And, I usually have my headset, my little Nano with music on it, because sometimes you get tired of reading or the bags are coming quick. You just want to listen to music. It was a long day. Another freaking... not really a freaking, just more of a different taste. My wife and I watched Doctor Strange, and she did not like it. She said it was kind of tough to follow. She didn't quite get the flow of it. And normally I would, chide her because, well, that's because you spent half the game playing Words with Friends. But she didn't. She actually watched it. She does get some geek cred because when they finally revealed the Eye of Agamotto has a time gem in it, one of the Infinity Stones, she went, oh. So she does get that, but just not her cup of tea. So I'm a little bummed about that. When I want someone to watch a movie, I want them to go, "That was the best thing I've ever seen." But she did like Spider-Man. She tolerated Civil War. Fell asleep during Thor and Rogue One. So yeah, we got that going for us, which is nice. Cory, what are you freaking on?
I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. Joe, you
can't have any of my San Diego Comic-Cons. Never mind.
You owned your own business for a while, so I doubt you dealt with this with a comic shop. But every kind of job I've had where people don't like their job, they all, when they're asked, well, what would improve the job? They all say the same thing. And I'll ask Joe, what do you think most people say when they're asked, what can we do to improve your job?
Give me more money.
Right. So for the last 2 years, the people at the group home have been saying, when asked, well, why are people leaving and why aren't people, coming on? Why are we having trouble hiring? And they've all said the same thing. Well, we're not paid enough. We're not paid enough. We're not paid enough. So a while back, they said, okay, we worked with the state and we've got this extra money that they're going to give us every quarter. And what we're going to do, we're going to use that to give you a bonus every quarter. And the first few bonuses, it was based on your scheduled hours. Well, Joe, you know about how many hours I work at the group home. A kerjillion.
Bajillion.
But I'm only scheduled for 11 every 2 weeks. So when the bonus time came, I would get the lowest of bonuses because I was scheduled for 11 hours every 2 weeks. And they said, well, we've run the numbers, and it's really not fair to do it that way. So it's going to be based on the number of hours you actually work. And, of course, the full-time people were like, oh, this isn't fair. You're going to be, now that the part-timers who could grab all these extra hours, full-timers could grab the extra hours too, but that's beside the point. Part-timers who grab all the extra hours, we're going to have to split the money with them so everybody will get less. And that's not what happened. Well, because the hiring has become a crisis point, and all the other facilities that work with the same population we have are offering a higher starting wage, and we aren't getting as many clients coming in because we don't have enough staff. You have to have a certain number. It's a staff to resident ratio of 1 to 4. For every 4 clients, you'd have 1 staff on duty. Well, we haven't brought in new clients because in a couple of the cottages, we can't do that. We don't have enough staff to schedule. So they can only have like 8 clients. Anyway, they said, all right, what we're going to do, the money that's allocated for bonuses, we are instead going to give everyone raises. And we're going to move the starting wage up to match what the other facilities are paying people. And we've ran the numbers, and for every hour you worked, you get about $1.04 in your bonus. So everybody's going to get a raise, and we got our little letter, and pretty much everybody's raise was around $1.10, unless they were under the minimum that new people are getting, and then they were given enough so that they're making more than the new people. And I come in last night, and I'm kind of happy. Hey, I got a raise of $1.10. That's really good, because most times when you get a raise, it's like, we're going to give you 2%, and you barely notice it. But nope, I came in, the 3 staff working, we're all bitching. Now we're not going to get our bonus, and this a raise, isn't a raise, and when I was the supervisor, I always said, when people are disgruntled, they're going to say they want more money, but have you ever stayed at a job because they paid you more money? No, you stay at a job because you either like it or you don't. If you don't like it, you stay there because you haven't found a new job yet. If you do like it, you're going to stay there because you like the job. So throw more money at the problem. As much as it seems counterintuitive, throw more money at the problem didn't make anybody happy. Except me. I was happy. But I couldn't go to sleep last night because I had to listen to people bitch for an hour after they'd logged out. They clocked out and then sat at the kitchen table to bitch about their raise.
Which is really weird because if you think about it, yeah, you get a bonus, it's big, you can spend it, it's gone. But if you get an actual raise, that continues indefinitely, as long as you have the job. So if you have a choice, it's better to actually get your hourly bumped me, because in the long term that'll pay you more.
Other than the special surprise bonus we got last week, which I said, I haven't gone out with Joe geeking in a long time. I'll just, load up for the rest of summer and winter for reading. Most of the time I just take the bonus, shove it in my savings. Damn right.
And he shoves it with glee. Well, let's see. I will admit, I did get my, from Sandy Eggo Comic-Con Spider-Mobile. I got it. It's really cool. It comes in a little box. And, of course, I had to open the box, but, I'm a sick guy. And now I want another one so I can open the package because the package is, I want one to play with. It's really cool. It looks like that damn Spider-Mobile. When did that sucker show up? Was it 160 originally?
Oh, no. It was in the 130s because they had a story point about it. And
yes, it is. It's right here on the back.
Worked with them on it.
They have a thing that says 130, The Amazing Spider-Man, and then the Spider-Mobile. Now, that's what I call a fiasco. And then a little window where you could see both sides of the car, and it's really damn close to what the Spider-Mobile looked like. And it was destroyed in Spider-Man 160 because the terrible Tinkerer, who had not been seen since issue 2, remote controlled it to try to use it to kill Spider-Man. In one of my favorite silly stories. I was proud because I knew who the Tinkerer was thanks to those little paperback books that I read. So, and of course, I did just run a Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man, or was it Sensational Spider-Man, where somebody brought the Spider-Mobile back, but it's in the dollar bins. We're not going to look at that. I picked up a book also off eBay called We'll Always Have Casablanca, the life, legend, and afterlife of Hollywood's most beloved movie, because it is probably one of my favorite movies. Written by Noah Eisenberg, and I am they talk about where the origination of the script came from, because it was an unproduced play, how it got bought by Warner Brothers. Now they're talking about the casting, and it's interesting because it also refers to other books I've read. I read a book called Inside Warner Brothers where they talk about the golden age of studio production, and they also refers to Bogart's biography, which I bought new a number of years ago. So if you're a Casablanca fan, you definitely got to find this bad boy out. I didn't have a lot of reading to do, but when I did get together with my sister, we went to a place on Minnehaha Avenue. There's a strip that's just full of wonderful shops. There was an ice cream store. Nobody wanted ice cream, mainly because it was like 90 degrees out. There was a couple secondhand stores. I stopped at a new bookstore called Moon Palace Books and bought 2 books. They have new and they have used books. And I went to, again, I'm there. I want to support these guys. So I picked up a book called Hero, a novel by Perry Moore. Essentially, last thing in the world Tom Creed wants to add to his dad's Hal's pain. Oh, let me try that again. The last thing in the world Tom Creed wants to add to is his dad's pain. So he keeps his secret, like he has special powers. And he's been asked to join the League. The most painful secret of all is one Tom can barely face himself. He's gay. Found that used, and then I picked up another one called Goodbye God. Let's see, Sean Michael Wilson and Hunt Emerson, an illustrated exploration of science versus religion. And I will talk more about these when I buy them. Moon Palace Books is on 3260 Minnehaha Avenue in Minneapolis, moonpalacebooks.com. And then I did make it to a place Cory and I were going to try to, but we ran out of time. Heroic Goods and Games on 3556 Minnehaha Avenue in Minneapolis. Cory, this is definitely going to be a place we're going to get to if you can't get to it on your own. Just an amazing store, very small, packed with oodles of stuff. I ended up picking up a little Hot Wheel car that had the Incredible Hulk on it, and you look in the inside and you see the one of 3 scenes that they had. The owners were super friendly. There were vintage games. I looked at one from Happy Days of all things. They had this auction going, or I should say a drawing going, where they had a bunch of vintage WWE stuff, and there were only a couple names in there, so I popped in there. Just a place. It's a small place, but they talk that they're turning over their inventory fast, so it gives you a good chance to go in there and take a look at it. And it really, I see these little stores, and it really gets me going that, you know, I could do that if I wanted to. I know I could. Next to it was an antique store called the Strange Boutique in Minneapolis, which was it's an antique store, but it also, I think this person takes older things and creates different types of artwork for it. So it's not that it's art, it's just antiques in a different way. One of the things, as I mentioned, from Antiques Minnesota is I buy little fire trucks, Hot Wheels, Matchboxes, whatever. He had one that was like a little wind-up tin toy, about Hot Wheel size, and he put it in a nice wood frame with a glass, and as a background had the packaging for that toy as the background. And I looked at it, and I thought, wow, that's cool. I got to come back and get it. I walked outside, turned around, went back in and bought it. Because this is one of those shops, just like 90% of the stores we talked about, if you don't buy it now, you're going to come back, and it ain't going to be there. So just 3 stores. Again, next time we go geeking, Cory, we're going to just go to that particular place. We'll be in spitting image. I mean, we'll be spitting distance of Nostalgia Zone, of Dream Haven, of Chatterbox, and we'll just go up and down and check these stores out. I thought it was interesting, too, a lot of these people are using this, like, it's almost like a tablet cash register. You know, you swipe the card, and they send you an email receipt if you want it or otherwise. And it's much like, I think, the same guys who do the Square add-on, where you download the app, you plug it into your phone, and now you can take PayPal or credit cards or whatever you want. And it was just interesting that all 3 stores use the same thing. You might have run across it too, Cory. You don't sign your name, you just use your finger and sign it. So kind of a fun little, kind of a double geek day. And then I spent the rest of the day, went over to my sister's, and we ate and drank and sweated. So, well, I also ran back.
Sweated.
And got that Jessica Jones comic. So a double geeking day. Needless to say, I am quite broke. One thing that was interesting, too, at Heroic Goods and Games, they take old trading cards and on the back stuck their label, and that's what they use for business cards. So I picked me up a Hollywood Bob Hope trading card, a 1991 from Starline Inc. So, I mean, obviously this card has no value, and most trading cards don't, but that's kind of an interesting way of having trading cards. You could do that like at a comic store or something. And so, let's see. Oh, and even as we're just sitting here, I got word of another book, as if I don't have enough. But apparently there is a book. Cory, have you heard of A Lit Fuse? The Provocative Life of Harlan Ellison. It's in hardcover. I believe came out a couple weeks ago. And by Nat Siegeloff. And it's an exploration of, it's unguarded, it's uncensored, it's unquiet tour of the life of Harlan Ellison. So I definitely want to check it out. Apparently Siegeloff conducted tons of interviews with Ellison over a course of 5 years, spoke with friends, spoke with enemies, and this will probably be the best book we will ever get on his life, because I don't think Harlan cares to much write his own autobiography at this point in his life. So I'll be checking that out. Cory, what are you geeking on? What's got you all excited and happy?
New Gru miniseries, Play of the Gods, started up. And if you've read Gru, you know Gru, and you love Gru. If you haven't, pick it up, read it. It's Aragones. It's Mark Evanier. They've been doing this thing since 1982 or 3. And it's still funny. It's still Sergio. Every so often when he does those big 2-page spreads, I just kind of stop and look at all the detail he puts in to that page.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think about the fact that, according to Evan here, he draws the 2-page spreads in about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
In a world where it takes most artists a day to draw a comic page. Unbelievable. The other comic that I am telling you to go buy, Shirtless Bear Fighter.
I remember that one.
Shirtless Bear Fighter #1 is out. This is too much fun. It does not take anything about itself seriously, even though it's done. It's the best kind of humor in that it's done straight-faced. It has weird, silly stuff, but it treats it completely serious. And I think that's the best way to do that sort of humor. A lot of people, when they do silly ideas in comics or TV or animation, they're kind of winking at you, and yeah, we know this is goofy. But when you treat it seriously, it's so much funnier. It's like the difference between the Chevy Chase Weekend Update and the other news parodies where the host is laughing at his jokes and having fun, whereas Chevy Chase used to treat it like he was just a serious, incompetent newsreader. Shirtless Bear Fighter #1, you get. I don't want to spoil any of it. It's too much fun, and I would not be shocked if this was an Adult Swim animated series within a year or two. It just read like one of the better Adult Swim animated series on paper. Another book that I picked up while we were out and about is Get Lost.
Okay, I'm out of here.
Oh, thank God. Hello and welcome to Solitaire Rose Radio.
You're not going to get rid of me that easy.
Damn it. I haven't cleaned your place and you didn't go away.
That's
what the
true. He
fuck is
came
up
over.
with that?
He started the day, and he came, and I thought I had cleaned the entire frickin' place. He found 3 dirty glasses and cleaned them.
Damn right.
Chris
It's
was most
what
upset. That's how the messier messes with the cleaner. I clean before he gets there.
But Get Lost reprints the 3-issue series by Ross Andrew and Mike Esposito, who you may know as the people who drew the first appearance of the Spider-Mobile.
No, Spider-Mobile.
But back in the 50s, they were packaging their own comics, and they did a Mad parody called Get Lost, which most people feel is the best Mad knockoff, to the point where they got a cease and desist letter from DC Comics. And rather than fight it, they was like, oh, yeah, the comic market is collapsing anyway. Yeah, we'll just move on and do other stuff. But it reprints all 3 issues on a nice, bigger than comic size. And unlike a lot of the 50s Mad knockoffs, the jokes in this one are kind of more universal like Mad was. So there's not as many pop culture references where you go, I don't know who the hell that is. I don't know what they're talking about. In comparison, I do have a couple issues of Atlas's Crazy, which was Marvel, Atlas's Mad knockoff. And in it, it's just joke after joke after joke. It's either Stan Lee's corny dad jokes or references to stuff going on in the news and on TV at the time where you just kind of go, I don't know who they're talking about. I don't know what that is. I think that's supposed to be funny, but I don't know. But really fun book, and I got it for $5. I remember when it came out, I ordered a copy for my friend Tommy, who loves, Andrew and Esposito's work and is a huge Mad fan, so he wanted it. And it was like, wow, that's kind of expensive for what you get. But for $5 a pop, damn skippy. And going around and doing all the digging, I've got a stack of comics right over there that's just a little bit taller than my stack of omnibuses.
Omnibus?
I was able to get 4 of the Vampirella archives for $20 each. I wouldn't have bought those normally because I'm not a huge Vampirella fan, and while I'm getting the creepy and eerie stuff, Vampirella, by the time they started it up and I was able to afford them, it's like, oh, they're already on book 14. Ugh. It's already bad that I have to go back and fill in my creepy and eerie. But I picked up 4 of those, so those will be fun reading. 2 of the Fantagraphics Mickey Mouse comic strip reprint books. And it's not the real earliest ones. It's the ones from the 40s. The ones from the 30s are just mind-blowingly good. And these are just, these are good. But, man, that first 10 years of the Mickey Mouse strip was amazing. You wouldn't recognize it. Because
yeah,
it
he was quite
an
a
adventure
scamp.
strip. Well, it was an adventure strip. So he was, an action-adventure hero in those strips by Floyd Godfredson. Really good stuff. And, just a big old box. I bought a bunch of Ace Doubles. And what Ace Doubles were, and they did them into the 80s, because when I worked at Schindler's, it was kind of the last gasp of them putting them out, it would be a book, just a paperback, and there would be one novella on one side, and if you flipped it over, it would be a second novella on the other side. So it was, 2 books in one. But it was really, 2 short novelettes around 30 to 40,000 words each. And it was from a time when they just, now if a novel comes out, it has to be a big name and it's a big deal. But these were just, meant to be read and enjoyed like you're watching, an average TV show. Because TV wasn't as omnipresent. During the day, it was all soap operas, but this was back when, for entertainment, you'd go to the newsstand, pick up a magazine or 2, and, I'll pick up, 2 or 3 paperbacks for a quarter each. So, they're dated, they're a little hokey, but for a nice, sunny Saturday afternoon, sitting out on the deck, they're a fun read. Or, it's winter and it's cold outside. I'll just read a couple science fiction books. They're great for that. And, the publishing field isn't doing that anymore, although with the e-books, you're starting to see it come back. You're starting to see people who, even name authors like David Gerolds and Lawrence Block are like, I'm just putting out something for fun. I can put it out as an ebook. I don't have to deal with an editor. I don't have to deal with a book publisher. I don't have to wait for it to see print for 3 years. I just write it, slap together a cover, put it out, sell it for $1.99. And that's kind of what these were. They were pulp magazines. Really just became paperback novels. So I'm set. And coming up, this weekend is my weekend to work, but next weekend, the first weekend in August, I'm not working. And I'm no more 60-hour weeks for at least August. It's back down to kind of a slower 30-hour week. I won't know what to do with myself, Joe. I'll have to sleep in my own bed.
Yeah, and you could probably...
Where will I put all my laundry?
You might have to start a 12th podcast. Cory Strode reads his collection.
Cory Strode reads all the fucking books he has piled up.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't that what Solitaire Rose Radio is?
It could be, but you also have a tendency to write books, so you have a novel cast going too.
Yes, I do, and not only
said
that,
I wasn't paying attention.
It's been pretty slow at work, so when it's quiet, I'm just writing away. They haven't said I can't.
Yep.
So the novel that did not get finished during last year's NaNoWriMo, probably going to get done in August. Well, believe it or not, kids, you've listened to us blather on about funny books for God knows how long.
Oh, no. 7 years and counting.
And, as we say every week, the comic we like the least, we still like better than the comic that you like the most. Joe?
Well, I did decide, Cory, if we do go back to Chatterbacks, we cannot invite Santana. Because, she casts her magic spells by speaking backwards. You could see the problems. she's going to ask the waitress for some desserts, but it'll just make her feel stressed. And then she'll ask for a straw, and she'll give the waitress warts.
I got to find that book and burn it.
She'll shout, "Stop!" and at some villains, and they will become pots. If you take my book, then poor Jeb won't have nothing to do. Hit my music.